How are y'all doing? It's Aaron Alanisa. No, I am not a lifetime natural. I know you would look at me right now and say, I would hope you are. I know I look fairly decent when it comes down to me being in shape, but I am not someone that looks like the natural or I guess like typical steroid user that you see on YouTube. I know how that sounds, but I'm gonna be telling you the biggest mistake that I made in my life was taking steroids at a young age. Now, before I dive in and tell you all exactly what most people on the internet are afraid to tell you up front, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel for more upfront, cold hard truths about fitness, my own personal story, and how we can potentially help you build your best body ever without making the same mistakes that I've done in the past. So again, like this video, subscribe to the channel for new videos every single week, and let's dive into today's video topic. Now, the reason I'm discussing this video is because as I'm building up my YouTube channel, I get a lot of people DMing me, hey, so what supplements are you taking? What this, what that? Are you natural? They would look at me and they would think I am the epitome of a natural physique and how that looks, but I can't necessarily say that and wear that as something prideful. You know, I'm not the guy to tell you, hey, I'm a not lifetime natural. I've never taken anything in my life, because if I was to build a brand off of that, I wouldn't be able to look in the mirror. I wouldn't be able to have integrity behind what I'm saying, and you wouldn't be able to feel me talking to you on this camera, even though I'm just speaking to a camera here at home. And I want to be able to have that mutual connection with you all. I want to be able to have a truthful, honest, and transparent community here. That way we can build something authentic. You know, there's a lot of people on the internet that unfortunately will lie about their previous steroid use, and they will sell you supplements, they'll sell you programs, they'll tell you, hey, you can look like me if you buy my program, or hey, you can do this if you buy this from me, or hey, you can use this, and you'll look exactly like me, when they're taking something completely different, right? And for me, I've messed up in the past. You know, I've made a lot of mistakes in the past that I wish that I could take back, and I want to tell you all my story about it, okay? So when I was younger, I was very athletic, right? So I used to play football, I was wrestling, and I used to play track or run track, and I used to swim. And the best sport at all of them, or the best one I was the best at, was wrestling. Now, when I was wrestling, again, I didn't take anything during my high school years, thankfully. And that's me just obviously being transparent. I didn't take anything at all like that. And I was really developing my athletic ability during those years. And I ended up injuring my ACL, my PCL, and my LCL on my left knee right before the district tournament. So I'm one of these ACL guys. One of these guys, hey, you could have achieved the whole world if my ACL didn't give out on me. That's my story. Some guy ended up playing a little bit dirty on me, kind of went for my knee, even though I was, you know, I was injured. But again, it's a dog-eat-dog world out here. I don't blame him. If I was in the same position, I don't know if I would have had the heart to do it, but you know, I can see why, you know, especially when it comes down to competing and stuff, right? So, but I also do believe in karma. So thankfully, I've never had anything like that happen to me, because I guess it happened to me once, but I don't do that to people, and because of that, nothing like that happens to me nowadays. So I'm blessed. And I don't know what he's doing, but I can guarantee that he knows what I'm doing, and if not, he will, and he's gonna look at me and say, damn, should have done it. But anyways, maybe that's just me holding on to something just to kind of feel me, but to bring it back to earth. I used to be in shape, so I'm someone who used to maximize my potential in that regard in high school. And then right after high school, after I tore my ACL, I started partying a whole bunch, I started drinking a whole bunch, started smoking a whole bunch, and I started going down the wrong road, and I started traveling with the wrong crowd, if that makes sense. I started hanging out with people that were more about the fun scene, the party scene, and this scene, and a whole bunch of like degenerate culture that at the time, even though I wasn't fond of, I participated in because I wanted to fit in with people. And there's nothing worse than being a man that compromises your highest intrinsic values because you want to be accepted by other people. And you have to understand that if you want a top 1% life, if you want to be in the top 1%, in anything that you do, you are going to be incompatible, and you're going to think differently and operate differently than 99% of people out there. And if you can't accept that cold hard truth, you are going to constantly belittle your own potential in hopes of getting validation from people that you don't even want to be like to begin with. So always understand that. So as I was doing that, as you all may know, part of my story is me making music when I was a little bit younger. So I was rapping and I was trying to do that, and I was doing the degenerate culture. So I was the guy that was making music, playing them at the parties, and then seeing if people liked them, and if so, then the music would get out when I had the chance to. But a lot of the times, I also understand that I was making music at the time less as like a career aspiration for me, but it was more so me being a little boy trying to chase my dreams versus being a responsible young man that had obligations and had a duty to serve my family. And at the time, I should have focused on my education more, and I should have focused on just really what my skill sets were, which was fitness. And funny enough, I've always been so good at fitness, especially with my background working out. I've come from a good family, so my parents were always able to give me trainers and coaches when I needed them. So I understood how it was to get really good training, and I understood how it felt like to have a good trainer. And in doing so, once I needed money to buy microphones and equipments and travel, first thing I did was I was like, okay, well, let me get a personal training cert. Let me do that whole thing and be a personal trainer around my area. So as I was personal training, I was there and I was about 175 pounds. So I went from looking like this to cutting down, and I had a cool little transformation for myself. And at the time, I wasn't doing anything sustainable. I just knew how to work really hard, meaning I was working out twice a day. I wasn't eating very much, but I was able to have a cool transformation, get a job, and then go from there, right? And that's when I started learning how to sell, and I started learning how to just speak with people a little bit better and just step into my actual natural skill set, which has always been fitness, thankfully, and luckily for you, right? Right. So when it comes down to it, I was selling things left and right, memberships, and just because it was always natural for me to do so. And in the process, someone told me like, hey man, can you imagine how much more packages you would sell if you were 190 pounds instead of 170? He told me that. And then at the time, I still hadn't healed that part of myself that wanted acceptance and validation from other people. And I was like, man, I probably would. It's like, hey, have you ever considered taking steroids, kind of thing? And I was like, no, because I don't even know where to get them. Lo and behold, he knew where to get them. I was young. I didn't know any better. I had just got out of a situation from this stupid little thing from this chick, kind of thing. And at the time, I had this like little thing in me. I was like, man, I gotta show her, kind of thing, like freaking immature kind of thing. So with that kind of energy in my heart, I was like, man, let me just do it so I can just transform and do whatever kind of thing. And lo and behold, I ended up taking cypionate, if I'm not mistaken, or testosterone initially. So I started taking testosterone, and then I started taking T-ball. And I don't remember the dosages because I don't do any of that stuff anymore. And in the process of doing so, the first couple of weeks, obviously, I didn't see any progress. That's usually how it goes. You start seeing some results, and then before I knew it, I blew up. So I started blowing up. I started getting crazy results. But at the time, I was also partying a ton. So I was taking things I shouldn't have taken to look better in the mirror, but then it was probably destroying my insides. I was staying up at all hours of the night, doing party drugs also. And at the time, the gym that I was working at down here in South Texas was going out of business, right? So what happened is that if I was the top sales rep, and for any of you all that do business, you understand that the top sales rep can typically get away with a lot of things that most people can't. So I was the guy that was always showing up. Woo! I'm gonna keep that in there because guess what? I'm not perfect. It is what it is. The top sales rep in any business can typically get away with a lot of things, unfortunately, because they're the one producing most of the revenue. So what happened is that during this time during the business, what happened was the vice president would come down trying to fix the place before it went out of business and say, hey, so where's Aaron at? And I would show up at 10 a.m. when I was supposed to clock in at 7, and then I would just do whatever kind of thing. One day he sat me down to make an example out of me and said, hey, look, man, you're fired kind of thing. And in the process of firing me, I didn't want to face that feeling of rejection. You know, so what did I do? Instead of actually sitting with myself, taking the lessons necessary in order to get better for the next job, what did I do? I immediately tried going into like a rebound job. Same way that people get into like rebound relationships after they get dumped or they dump someone. I tried to find a rebound job. So what ended up happening was like, okay, well, let me just go find another job. I had about $1,000 in my bank account at the time. I thought I was balling like Floyd Mayweather because that's the most money I had probably ever had at the time. So I drove all the way to Austin, Texas. I was trying to figure out whether to go to San Antonio or Austin regarding moving, and I didn't make a decision until I got to the crossroads. So again, if I'm coming from South Texas, I'm driving up, and then initially you hit that intersection to where you have San Antonio on the left side, you have Austin on the right side. I flipped a coin, it landed on Austin, and then I decided, okay, well, let me just go to Austin. Following that, I ended up meeting up with some family members at the time, and then I had gotten a job at a Orange Theory Fitness in Austin. So I'm over there in Austin. I'm 4 weeks into taking steroids kind of thing. And I had no idea what I was doing because the person that I was taking them from, or like who was kind of doing it for me, obviously I couldn't keep it in my house because I was living at home. He held it in his fridge so that before I got the job, I was able to sell myself as per usual. And then I came down, packed my stuff, moved in with a cousin for a little bit, and I was having to figure out, because I didn't even know how much to take. I didn't know anything about that. And I recommend to each and every single one of you all, obviously I'm not recommending anything for anybody. I'm strongly against them unless you are a competitive athlete, or not, I don't even want to say athlete, competitive bodybuilder. That's just like the price to pay in order to be great in that realm specifically, right? So what happened with me was I didn't know how much to take. I was one of these people that unfortunately took them and then said, I'll learn about it as I'm going about my cycle kind of thing. So as I'm doing this, I'm learning more about it as I'm going. I had that one vial when I was in Austin. I just went, I was working out at the Gold's Gyms over there, because there's the memberships over there at the time. I'm not sure how they work nowadays, but I had the membership. You can get them. You can go to each and every single one of the Gold's Gyms there. And I was just walked up to the biggest guys and said, hey, I'm trying to find something. And they're like, oh yeah, I know a guy, kind of thing. So then I started taking stuff there, but I had no idea how to get off. And in the process, I had neglected some of the side effects that would happen. So part of the side effects that happened for me, guys, I didn't get any gyno, thankfully. I didn't get any excessive body acne, like you'll see in like some More Plates, More Dates videos out here with some of these guys that just blow up in that regard. But the thing that messed me up the most, guys, was my mental health. Now, for those of you all that know my story, in a couple years after this steroid story, what happened is I ended up having to get diagnosed with major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety, and I was taking 5 different prescription medications for these mental ailments that I was going through, because I couldn't get up, I felt anxious, I couldn't do anything really with my life. And this caused me to just live in the shadow of myself. And I really, truly believe that part of this was me not only neglecting spiritual health and spiritual work that you can do independent outside of just therapy, because I think with therapy, what's the problem? What's the problem? What's the problem? Versus like, hey, what's the solution to these problems kind of thing? That people just dig their own grave kind of thing, and they keep on focusing, because attention goes where your energy flows kind of thing, right? Or energy goes where your attention flows. So if you're always focusing on your problems, how do you expect to find solutions when you're always talking about what's wrong with your life and what's wrong with yourself and what's wrong with whatever kind of thing? So if you ever see people complaining, you're always going to understand that those people are never going to get out of their situation unless they flip their whole mind around life as a whole. But to get back to earth, when I was taking these things, when I was taking the steroids kind of thing, my dad, guys, had anger issues when I was younger. So my biological father had a lot of anger issues. I would see him flip tables, a lot of crazy stuff like that when I was a little bit younger, because my parents are divorced. Have a beautiful family regarding my mother and my stepfather. My stepfather is my actual dad, but then my biological father. There's a difference between being a dad, being a father. I have a father, and I have my dad. I love my dad, raised me really well. Biological father is a different story. I still love him with all my heart. He did his best with what he knew how to do, and I truly forgive him through the depths of my soul. But there was some damage that was done regarding my head, and I had inherited some of those, the capability to be that, if that makes sense. So while I never flipped out with aggression, because I understood how that looked and how it affects people around you, repressed aggression and repressed anger causes depression. So instead of you messing up your external environment because you're so rageful, I had learned that when I feel that emotion, instead of me expressing it or healthily processing it in order to just do better, I would repress it. So especially when I'm taking steroids and everything's amplified, not only your testosterone levels, but everything. And then you also, it's kind of like, it just ruined me, if that makes sense. So as I was there in Austin, I was getting angry at people. I was late to my job. And guess what? Since I didn't learn the lessons necessary in order to truly become employable and to be a viable employee to Orange Theory Fitness in Austin, guess what happened? After a month, and I'm in a brand new city, a month or two later, I lose my job because I was still showing up late. I was just relying on my sales skills, and I didn't learn the proper lessons necessary in order to make sure that when I got a new job, I can do better than the last one I did, which I obviously failed at. So I ended up realizing, okay, man, you got to start changing something. So I lost my job. I was taking steroids. I didn't know how to get off of them. And I tried to figure out, okay, what do I do to change my life? And I ended up getting hooked up with a job to be a supervisor at a Target just because I can present myself really well. This time, obviously nowadays, it's a lot different because I actually am who I say I am. At the time, I was just able to kind of fake being more presentable, and when I really wasn't, kind of thing. I was still a party guy. And at the time, I just got a job at Target. I was GSA over there in Austin. And one day I just decided, hey, I got to quit this stuff. So I quit cold turkey without a post-cycle therapy. I went from being jacked and being the guy who built his whole identity off of being this super jacked guy to becoming a shell of who I was. And the sad part about it is that everyone that I knew when I was taking steroids and I was that guy kind of thing in the gym stopped talking to me. And that's what really helped me understand the importance of being authentic and building a brand if you're in business, or building a life around who you actually are in this world versus who you want people to know you as. Because as soon as you get tired of wearing that mask, you're gonna start seeing that no one was really there for you. They were there for who you were pretending to be. And then once you stop being that person, why do we need to talk to you? So I had built this whole identity off being this plastic version of myself by taking steroids. And once I got out of shape, it's like I lost all my fit friends. I lost all that because I wasn't who I said I was, kind of thing. And it was a very depressing moment in my life. So when it got even more depressed, I started partying even more. And I had a really hard time getting back in shape. And the sad thing too is that I ended up looking worse off of steroids than I did right before I took the steroids. I looked way better before I ever took anything than when I was taking stuff. And even if you look at my peak transformations right here, I look way better nowadays, guys, than I did when I was taking steroids. And the thing is that because at the time, since you can get results with so little effort, I had gone from the guy who's naturally a really good guy. Really, I've always been a good dude. Right? It is what it is. But I've made mistakes, obviously. But you know, things are what they are. I went from having a really hard work ethic in the gym to then taking steroids and then being able to supercharge my results with a quarter of the effort, kind of thing. And because my thing was more about the result at the time, more so than the process, like it is nowadays for me, I was able to expend less effort to get the same results and be super lax on my diet, still look better than most people are, kind of thing, or most people do. And in the process of doing so, I had lost my work ethic. So here's the thing. I started taking steroids. I was eating Whataburger every day. If you're in Texas, you know what I mean. So I'm eating these Whataburgers every day. When I was super broke, I was eating Oreos every day. I was still able to build muscle and still break PRs. It was crazy for me. And once I stopped taking the steroids, I had forgotten how to work hard. And for me, that's like a key character trait for me. Like I pride myself on my discipline and my work ethic. And I had to relearn that skill set regarding learning how to work hard again. I had to relearn how to feel good about myself. And I had to relearn how to develop a healthy relationship with the gym, because for so long, the gym had provided me with that unhealthy thing because I was taking steroids and I was hurting myself and I was going to the gym to do something like that. So I had to rewire what the gym was to me. So I stopped working out because I was like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. But then health is still more, and that's when I started understanding that health is much more important to me regarding the way that my body is inside and even the way it kind of appears than just the aesthetics. Because there's a lot of people that look really good that aren't healthy internally. And this is something that I just had to learn for myself. Hey, if you really want to have a long life, you got to start prioritizing your internal health. And it's once I started just prioritizing my internal health and I started learning how to work hard again, and I just got back to the things that got me there in the first place, which was, again, the basics, pun intended. And that's actually the story behind the name Basics, right? When I was getting back into working out, I was trying to do the keto stuff, guys. I was trying to do the intermittent fasting stuff, guys. I was trying to do all these different things, all these complex things, and I never got the results. And then it wasn't until I just learned how to, like, okay, man, what works with fitness, what works with nutrition, and what works with fitness transformation, with cardio stuff, more so than me trying to do all these new things. Like, what actually works? What are the fundamental things that everybody knows works? At the time, I was also consuming a lot of Greg Doucette content, and just like the flexible dieting approach, the list cardio, push-pull legs, harder than last time, that kind of approach with things. And how can I redevelop the character traits necessary in order to push past my comfort zone? And that's when I was also reading a lot of books on mindset. So a lot of books on just like pushing yourself harder than last time, just like Greg Doucette says, or can't recall the books off the top of my head. But some people that I was modeling was like Jocko Willink, Casey Zander on YouTube, Tim Grover, David Goggins, those kind of mindsets, just like pure masculinity and just pure push kind of thing. Michael Jordan, obviously Michael Jordan's a huge one for me. I love the book Relentless. It's one of my favorite books out there. And it's that kind of mindset's what helped me get back to where I was. So after years of being stuck with steroids and after feeling like I could never get back in shape, the thing that got me back in shape, guys, and the thing that helped me bounce back after taking steroids was modeling people that I wanted to be like, that had the character traits necessary in order for me to succeed. Meaning like, okay, what do I got to do to get to the next level? Who has those character traits, and let me just mimic them. That way I can naturally get to where I want to go individually, kind of thing. So that was the first one. And then secondly, it was about sticking with the basics and the fundamentals, which was just lifting harder, with the structured program. And thankfully, I was a personal trainer, so I knew how to make programs. Nutrition, obviously, I knew how to count macros as well. Cardio, I just kept it super simple. Before I went from 2 days kind of thing, trying to outwork myself, to thinking, okay, how can I not only get in shape, but how can I sustain it after I get there? And then once I figured out that formula, I cracked the code, I was able to get in the best shape ever and then keep all the weight off from there. Now, have I had my ups and downs here? Yeah, but here's the thing. We're human. And the thing is that once you have a formula that you know works, all you have to do is just keep on repeating the formula. Whenever you slip up, you can understand why you're slipping up based off of the formula that you have. And then you can just make the adjustments necessary in order to get to where you want to go. Some of the other negative side effects, guys, that I ended up taking or had was my testosterone levels were low, and thankfully with time they ended up recovering. There was also some point when I was taking them as well that I squeezed my chest or my nipple kind of thing, and milk was coming out. Because not only was I taking test, guys, but after the T-ball stuff ran out when I was a little bit younger, I started taking equipoise, different things of test, whatever the case may be. And like I said, I stopped cold turkey. So my levels plummeted all the way down, I'm sure. I didn't get it tested. I didn't want to tell my parents. I didn't want to tell anybody about that. And I just suffered in silence, and I had to let myself go through what I went through in order to do that. And it slowed my entire life down by several years. And I want to let you all know that if you have anyone in your life that's peer pressuring you to take anything that you shouldn't be taking, because that's what happened to me. I was impressionable. I seeked validation, and these people at the time had a big influence on me. I wanted to be like them, and I saw them getting all the attention from the girls. I had just gotten my heart broken at the time from this chick when I was like 20 years old. And I wanted what they had. I wanted the attention. I wanted the muscles. I wanted the appreciation. I wanted the status. And I put that over my own health and my own well-being. And that's one of the biggest regrets that I have in my life, is that very decision. So if someone's peer pressuring you in your life to take something that you know you shouldn't be taking, that's going to cause a health detriment to your life, cut them out immediately. If they are selling it, report them to the police, and do whatever you can to just get yourself out of that situation. Because unless you are a competitive bodybuilder to where you got to take that stuff, I recommend people not to take it, especially people watching my channel. If you are, even me, for me doing this as a living regarding fitness content, I don't see myself taking anything like that soon. I'm not completely against it, but I don't want to take it. I'm very happy with the way I am now, and knowing the way that my brain worked the last time on it. And again, I was abusing it. I didn't know what I was doing. I was taking like 500 grams of test a week, and it messed up my head though. And I know that I'm very prone to that stuff, and I have to guard my mind so much more than the average man might in order to just make sure that I'm being a productive member of society, right? So just understand that don't take them if you don't plan on making this a living for yourself. And even for me that's doing a living, the people that I sell to, guys, and the people that we work with here at Basics don't necessarily want to look like a bodybuilder. The guys that resonate with my content don't necessarily want to look like a Chris Bumstead or any of these guys that are really like maximizing human potential nowadays in the modern era. They just want to be a healthier version of themselves. They want to be more confident, and they want to unlock their own potential and really get back to who they used to be. You know, so it's like if you were someone like me who was in shape in high school, you understand what it feels like to be the guy, and then you got caught up in your career, and then you're trying to figure out ways to get back in shape. Don't use the extra cash that you have on deck to take something that you shouldn't be taking. If you haven't already optimized your workout program, your nutrition protocol, and your test levels aren't in danger of being too low. TRT is completely cool. I truly believe that every man, especially when you get 30, 40, 50 years old, especially when I'm looking at the research, if your test levels are below average, take it. Testosterone is one of the best things that us men can have in our bodies, and if you can naturally or artificially enhance that inside of your body to get yourself back to baseline, I recommend you take it. We actually have a good one of our clients that I'm not going to say his name obviously, but he's around my age. He takes testosterone because his levels were actually low. So in terms of TRT, that's completely cool. Medical professionals, obviously, it's not my expertise, but you know, take it. If the doctor gives you an A-OK, go ahead and do it. But if you're doing it recreationally, just to be the guy at the gym and you're not making any cash from it, you are causing so much more harm than you are good to yourself. You know, the validation isn't worth it, guys. If you're having to hurt yourself, and there's a lot of people that I know that are SARM goblins for that word. People that I know that are just taking stuff concurrently regarding SARMs, this, that, and the third, just to get the validation from other people. And they're not making any cash. They have another job. It's just like, bro, you are hurting yourself right now. You may seem like the guy right now. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you aren't going to be able to do what you're doing right now. And I always feel bad for some of these people because I know it's coming from an insecure place because I used to be there. So it's like, man, you look good on the outside and everyone probably sees you as the guy kind of thing, but you are hurting yourself so much more. So if you're that guy right now, do what you can to get off, man. Like, the outside validation isn't worth it. I promise you, if you're hurting yourself to get validated by others, you got to go see a therapist, bro. I know I said something about therapy earlier, but that's like a twisted way to go about feeling good about yourself. And avoid that at all costs. So again, thank you all for watching this video. I hope this has inspired you to avoid making the same decision that I made that almost ruined my life. Because if I didn't have the gumption and the proactiveness to consume content on YouTube from men that I wanted to be like, and I didn't have the internal switch to just flip it kind of thing, that could have ruined my entire life. And thankfully, I've been able to get in even better shape after taking that stuff and after my test levels normalized, and I didn't get any bad side effects long-term, thankfully. And I'm just very happy with the way that I've learned my lesson from that situation in order to inspire you all to be the best versions of yourselves possible. So again, thank you all for watching this video. Make sure that you like this video for more. Subscribe to this channel for new videos every single week. Thank you all for watching. And again, if you want to find out more information to see if or how you qualify to work one-on-one with myself personally and the Basics team, that way you can get in shape with customized workout program, customized nutrition protocols, group accountability, and one-on-one accountability from being a VIP student of ours without taking any steroids or without going through the complex things that I was going through as well regarding trying to do all the fancy things. I promise you, you just got to stick with the basics, pun intended, and you can see the exact results that you want within a 16-week time period. Go ahead and book a call with me personally using the very first link in the video description of this YouTube video, or check out the pinned comment and you'll see that very same link right there. And again, if no one's told you in a minute, I will tell you right now, it's time to get it together, man. See ya.